Hello, sorry for the delay. We're finally live. Um, welcome to the, sorry. We're here. Sorry for the delay. This is the RSP Q&A live stream. Having some technical difficulties, first time we're trying this. So for those of you who may have stuck with us, appreciate it. Thank you. And for those of you who weren't able to make it, this will be archived for you to view at a later time if you'd like. So to start off, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Courtney. I'm a residence hall director here at Hayes Hall. I'm also on the housing committee, which has been running a lot of the process for room selection. So we're going to take some time to just talk about room selection process, talk about some of the things, the information that's necessary that is beneficial for everyone to use. And then if anyone is with us and would like to ask any questions, you can do so in the comment section in the chat of the video, and I'll be able to see them and answer you. So I'm going to just get started a little bit with talking about some of the process information, some of the deadlines that I'm sure you all have been told before, but just to reiterate, the first and most important deadline is making sure that you fill out the room selection process form, the RSP form. That is due Friday, March 10th by 11:59 p.m. If it's not in at that time, you will not be able to select a room during that time. You will not be able to select a room during that time, or you won't be able to pick your roommate. Residence Life and Housing will assign you over the summer if you miss that deadline. So please, please, please make sure that you fill out your room selection process form by the deadline of 11:59 p.m. on Friday. A lot of people have filled it out already, which is great. But just make sure that if you haven't yet, you make sure you get that done on time. So I'm just going to go over a couple more of the deadlines and some of the timeline associated with the room selection process. And then we will, again, if you have any questions, I'm going to let some time for people to join because I know we were a little bit delayed. So maybe people weren't quite ready to go right off the bat. So as I mentioned, the room selection process form is due by 11:59 p.m. Friday, March 10th. The next deadline for that after that is roommate groups. So if you have a roommate or roommate groups or roommates that you want to live with, you have to have that set up in the housing director by Friday, March 24th. I'm going to go through and explain how to do all these things in case anybody has any questions about that. So that's the second deadline, is Friday, March 24th, roommate group deadline. Please make sure that you and your roommate or roommates have all matched and are in a roommate group together and ready to go. Starting March 31st, also a Friday, you'll be able to view your RSP selection time, and you'll also be notified if you were selected to participate in full group. And I'll explain how that process and how you'll be notified about full group. I'll explain how that will go in just a second also. So that's the next important event. And then on Tuesday, April 4th, you'll be able to start selecting your room. And this basically goes on your time, based on your selection time and what process you're in. There's several different processes that you can be in as far as the room selection process goes. You can be in normal room selection. You can be in what we call full group, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then you could be in one of our, there's a couple of housing, special interest housing processes that we have. One being all gendered housing. If you're interested in living in all gendered housing, you would have indicated that, or you would indicate that on your RSP form. All gendered housing essentially is the opportunity to live in a community with anyone regardless of gender. So you may be living with people whose gender identity or gender identity might not match your own. So just be aware of that, and that's it. If you're in that process, it'll be notified. It'll be indicated on your main screen for RSP. So I talked a lot about deadlines of what's going on. I just want to talk a little bit about more of the how-to in the process for meeting some of these deadlines that we have. I mentioned the most important thing to do right now is to fill out your RSP form. So your RSP form can be accessed by going to My Red Dragon under Residence Life and Housing. There's a link for forms and applications that'll bring you to our housing director software. And you will have a drop down from forms that says room selection process form. You want to make sure you fill that out. There's also videos that show you how to go through all these steps. They are located on the RSP website, which is actually located in the description down below. So feel free to check that out if you want to look at some of the videos. The next thing I talked about was making sure that your roommate group is all set. So basically, in order to have your roommate group or roommate pair set, you have to go and search for your roommate, send them a request, and they also have to accept the request. If you're trying to form a roommate group of more than 2 people, everybody in that group has to have requested and accepted each other. And THD, the housing director, is really good with letting you know if your group is fully matched, then you're all set. If not, it's really good with letting you know who needs to request or accept who in order to make sure that the process is complete. So that's the first 2 steps. Those are how to do those. If you need help with learning how to request a roommate, there's also a video for that, but you would just go under roommate requests, and if you have their name, or under select a roommate, if you have their name, you're able to go ahead and write their name in. They should pop up and you'll be able to send them a request right away. If you're not sure of the name or have to try to search someone from using their roommate profile, you would just be able to search through different I guess categories that are important to you. Again, I definitely recommend watching the videos that are provided on the RSP page. If you need help with those things, I find them very helpful. I'm also a little biased because I helped make them, but there's a lot of good information on there and kind of a step-by-step guide, along with some screenshots too on how to do all of these things. One of the things I wanted to mention, I talked a lot about full group, and I want to just explain a little bit about what that means exactly. So if you're going to be in the full group process, you're indicating that you and a group of roommates or your friends or people who you have identified as roommates want to try to select a suite, quad, or apartment together as a full group. So only a certain percentage of suites, quads, and apartments will be designed for full group, designated for full group, so that the number of groups that are eligible for full group will match the number of suites available. So say there's X amount of suites, I don't know quite how many, but say there's X amount of suites, quads, and apartments that are available, only that same number of groups will be eligible for full group selection process. If you want to be eligible to participate in the full group selection, your roommate group size has to be 4 or 6 people. Everybody in your group must be currently enrolled in SUNY Cortland and not new students. Unfortunately, you're not able to sign up for a full group in a suite, quad, or apartment if you're trying to live and do so with a new incoming student for the fall. Your roommate group must be fully matched by March 24th. There's that deadline again. If there's any unconfirmed matches, you won't be able to participate in full group. So it's really important that by that March 24th deadline, you and all of your roommates and suite mates have completely matched in the housing director process. The group's eligibility will be determined based on your housing points. One of the questions that we do get a lot is in regards to how exactly room selection times are picked. And so that's picked mostly from class credits. Class credits, and if you have met Dean's List, well, you get some extra points for that. But basically, your selection time is credit hours. So each credit hour towards graduation as of December. So it doesn't take into account the credits you're taking now. The students with the most credit hours do get to pick first. If you are on Dean's List, like I mentioned, an extra 3 points will be added to your total credit hours for each semester you've been on Dean's List. So we try to reward people for not only seniority, which is trying to be fair, but also for excelling in academics, we try to, reward that by adding points to your room selection time, to your housing process time. You will know by March 31st if you are in a full group. So you'll be able to view your selection times and processes. What that means is that if you are in full group or any other process, you will be able to see that. It'll indicate you're in full group and also indicate a regular selection. If you don't see anything for full group, that means that your group has not been eligible and was not able to pick during the full group timeline. But either way, you'll be able to see your selection times in full on March 31st. So the thing with full group is that 4-person groups can only select 4-person rooms as suites, and 6-person groups can only select 6-person suites. So you're not able as a 4-person group to go in and try to select a space in a 6-person suite. At that time, you may be able to during regular selection, but for full group, you have to select a space that equals the number of students that you have in your full group. Just because there are other suites that will open up, suites and quads and apartments that will open up not during full group, so you may still be able to sign your group up into one of those areas. You just won't be eligible you just might not be in the full group process, or if some of the rooms are closed out at that point, you may be able to go through regular selection and still be able to try to get a suite, quad, or apartment. It's really important to note that not everyone is guaranteed to have a suite. Suite, quads, and apartments are very popular housing choices here at SUNY Cortland. And a lot of people want to live in those areas. A lot of people want to live with a group of their friends. So they're very popular. So not everyone is guaranteed to be able to live in a suite, quad, or apartment based solely on the number of suite, quads, and apartments that we have. So I just want everyone to be prepared. Everyone should have a backup plan with your roommate or roommate groups if you're not able to get your first housing choice. If you're not able to get, a suite, quad, or apartment in one building, or you're able, do you have a backup plan for another building? If you're not able to get, sign up for full group and get a suite or quad or apartment at all, do you have a backup plan of where you want to live? Do you want to try to live near each other? Things like that. So because not everyone is able to have a suite, we want to make sure that you have a backup plan so that on selection day, when it's finally time to pick a room, you're able to go through the process smoothly and be able to have a plan of how you and your friends are going to be able to pick your room assignments for this fall semester. One of the other questions that we get a lot are people wanting to live with new students. That's definitely possible. If you want to live with an incoming student, you'll be assigned over the summer essentially. So on your room selection process form, you want to make sure that you answer yes to questions 3 and 4. If you know the first and last name of the student, hopefully you do, that you want to live with, you'll have to indicate that on the form as well. You're not going to be able to select a room during RSP for this, but Residence Life and Housing Office will assign you with your roommate request as long as your new roommate also requests you. So on their housing preference form, the new incoming student also has to request you on the form in order for us to house you together. You will not be able to choose a room and be assigned a new student, so you have to decide if it's more important for you to be able to choose your own space or if you would rather live with that new incoming student. We'll try to put you in a place that we think is the best, fit, but it does, to remove your ability to choose a room during the room selection process. So if you're okay with that and you really want to live with this new incoming student, great, no problem, we'll assign you over the summer. If it is really important for you to be able to pick where you live specifically, you may choose not to live with a new incoming student. Those are kind of the options as far as that goes. I mentioned earlier one of the special interest housing areas, which is all gendered housing. We also have a sustainability building out at West Campus Apartments. That is for people who are committed to sustainability and leading that kind of lifestyle and education and awareness of sustainable needs and values and things like that. There's a whole building that is for people who feel similarly or want to practice that kind of lifestyle and share interests in sustainable living. So that and all gendered housing are really the only special interest housing units that we have. I know previously, including this year, we have had other special interest housing options, but for now, those are the only two that we have. And of course, 21 plus is also at West Campus. So if you're over 21, there's no special process for that. You just, when you go to do your room selection, you'll be able to see what buildings are 21 plus. So you'll be able to pick and live in that building if you so choose to. Just a couple of other things to talk about. You know, we all know we all have certain ideas where we want to live. We all have certain, you know, maybe you really want to live in a specific hall. Maybe you really want to live in, you know, Casey Tower or Bishop Hall. And you notice that somebody has taken that space, or there's no rooms left in that area, or come, you know, general selection, somebody's taken a space in a suite that you wanted your friend to be in. There's no harm if needed to ask someone if they'd like to switch rooms or would like to, you know, give up that space so that you or your friend or whatever the situation is can, you know, move in there. It's okay to ask, but understand that if the person says no, that's kind of the end of it. There's a zero tolerance policy for harassment here during the room selection process. Every student has the right to not be harassed and be able to select whatever room that they want that's available when it's their time to select. So please note that harassment is any kind of, you know, verbal, you know, social media, written, electronic communication, that's like harassing, abusive, threatening, or anything like that. If we find out that that's happening, you will be processed through student conduct. It is a college policy that there's no harassment, and you could also forfeit your on-campus housing assignment, so your ability to be able to actually select your room. So I know like room selection process is really important for a lot of people, and you really all want to live in the same area that you really want to live in with your friends, but please don't harass anyone about it, because it's not worth it. You know, it's not worth potentially getting in trouble, having student conduct issues, and such. So please just make sure that you're not harassing anyone, and that's great. A lot of people ask if they can change the answer on their RSP form. You will be able to change and revisit your form just after March 10th, which is when the form's due. You're not able to make any changes to special interest housing questions. So if you said that you know, maybe you didn't want to live in sustainability or all gender housing, then maybe you decide you did, you're not able to make changes at that time, unfortunately. If you don't have a roommate, that's another question that we get. What do you do if you don't have a roommate? If you don't have a roommate, don't worry. There's a couple options that are available to you in order to pick a room. If you don't want to try to find a roommate and don't really care to pick your room, if you're okay with Residence Life and Housing assigning you over the summer, you can indicate that on your room selection process form. That's an option for you to do. You can say that you want to be assigned by Residence Life and Housing, and we will assign you over the summer. You have the option, if you don't want a roommate period, you can also choose to live in a single. So there are single rooms available on campus, so you are able to do that. You're able to select a single if they're available. Again, that's also something that's kind of limited availability. I will note that West Campus apartments, the rooms are all single rooms. You share the rest of the apartment with people, so that's something you're interested in also. Say you do want to select a room though and you don't have a roommate, you can always do the advanced roommate search. So again, there's videos online how to do this. You just basically choose certain criteria that you find important, that you want to find somebody that's compatible with those certain criteria, and you're able to narrow down your search to your ideal roommate. So you'll pick whatever criteria is most important to you, whether it's going to bed early, room tidiness, both, amongst other things. And then those who answered similarly on their room selection process form will show up, and you'll be able to send them a request. You also can send someone a message first. They should have listed a contact method, whether it was email, Facebook, Twitter. So you're able to contact them first if you want to just reach out and chat and make a connection before you send a request. So that's an option for you if you don't want to be assigned by Residence Life and Housing and don't want to live in a single and want to still pick your room. You can always try to find someone in the room search process. It's important to note, using the roommate search tool, you only will see people who have filled out their RSP form. So if you can't find someone that you think is compatible, you do have from the 10th to the 24th to be able to complete your roommate group. So everyone should have completed their form by the 10th. So during those, during those 2 weeks, you'll be able to kind of look and see there should be more people added after the 10th because everyone should have completed their form. So if you've searched already and are not seeing anyone that you think you want to live with or are compatible with, you can always try again after the 10th, because that means there should be more options to choose from at that point. If you're trying to find someone specifically and they're not showing up, you know you have their first and last name correct, you know who they are, ask them if they filled out their RSP form. It's very possible, hopefully now at this point, since we're getting so close, people have filled it out. But if you know someone that you want to live with and you know you have their information correct and they're not showing up, it's probably because they haven't filled out their RSP form. So what you need to do is make sure they fill it out. And then once they've confirmed that they filled it out, you should be able to find them in the roommate search system. Let's see. So just a couple other questions. There are certain people who have room deposit waivers. I forgot probably the second most important part of this process. After filling out your RSP form, the second most important process after the room selection process itself is paying your deposit. I'll get back to waivers in a second, but you need to pay your deposit. You need to pay your deposit before we leave for the semester in order to make sure that you are able to stay in your room. You can pay your deposit starting now. They're due May 1st. So by May 1st, the latest, by 4 p.m., you have to pay your $150 room deposit. If you don't, even if you've selected a room already, the Residence Life and Housing Office will likely pull you from your assigned room if you don't pay your deposit by May 1st. So you go through all this trouble filling out your form, filling out the process, all those things. It would be really terrible to get pulled from the room that you worked so hard to plan and choose and everything like that. It would be a shame to get pulled from that because you didn't pay your deposit. So please, please, please make sure you pay your deposit by May 1st by 4 p.m. You can pay it anytime. You can pay your deposit anytime. You can pay it now. If you've already paid your deposit, that's awesome, great. You can pay it anytime during spring semester. So there's no delay. You can do it now, do it when you come back from break, things like that. Just please make sure you pay it. If you're not able to pay it for any reason, please check financial aid. Contact them. They may be able to discuss some options with you and able to see, how they can work with you to make sure you get that $150 deposit paid so you can select your room. I started to say there are some waivers. Some students ask about this. If you're a member of EOP, if you're an EOP student, a CURE student, if you're on the RHA or NRHH executive board, you'll receive a room deposit waiver. So look out for that. That may be something that we add people to a list. So if that applies to you at all, check with that and make sure that if you're supposed to be getting a waiver for being part of any of those programs, make sure that that's actually happening. So that's most of the room selection process in a nutshell. I apologize again for the delay, having technical difficulties, but this will be archived, so you're able to watch it. We'll probably link to it on our social media. You'll be able to watch this. If you have any questions, there's ways to contact us. If you look in the description below, the RSP website's listed. That's a great resource. It has all the information. It has screenshots. It has the videos. There's frequently asked questions. So anything that you might want to put up there or have any questions about and ask, start there. It's probably your best bet. Check that out first. You can always ask your RA or RHD Each building has an RA that is kind of assigned as the point person. If you went to your RSP info meeting in your building, it was put on by that person. It might not be your RA, but your RA could certainly tell you who that staff member is. Your RA should also be able to answer any questions, but the point person did go through some training, so they may be able to provide a little bit more information. Your RHD is also a very good resource. We all, some of us have been through this before. A lot of us have all had some sort of training, or have been given the information about room selection process. So you can always ask any of the hall directors if you have any questions. The Res Life main office could answer questions for you also. And then we also have a Twitter and a Facebook, which may not be the best for communication and asking questions, but I know that they've been posting fun facts there and a lot of other information that's really, really important for RSP. So if you're not following the Facebook and Twitter, please make sure that you do that. Check out the RSP website. We're going to be doing another one of these in April, hopefully minus the technical difficulties. So that'll be posted on the social media. So if you maybe missed this one and really wanted to ask a question, or that one will be after room selection has actually started. So if you're trying to pick a room and have any questions that you want to ask through that process, we'll be having a live chat, sometime mid-April. So look for when that's going to be announced and what's going to be held. And like I said, apologize again for the technical difficulties and the late start, but I hope that you have found some information from this. Again, this will be available on our YouTube page. So if you have any questions, see if they're answered here first. Like I said, the videos on the RSP page are also very informative. There'll be some new ones coming out. Right now it covers how to fill out your RSP form, how to fill out your roommate profile, how to select a roommate. Those are already up there. The next one we're working on is how to pick a room. So that'll be the next video that we're working on, and that'll be uploaded right here on the YouTube page as well. So, subscribe to us, follow us, and all that. And again, if you have any questions that you want answered immediately, please contact the in-hall staff or the Residence Life and Housing office, and we'll hopefully be able to get your questions answered. So thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for watching this. And again, my name is Courtney. I'm the Residence Hall Director at Pace Hall. And hopefully we'll see some of you in April, and good luck with the process. And please make sure you fill your RSP form out by Friday at 11:59 p.m. That's the most important upcoming date that's immediate and important. So thanks again. Have a good night, everyone.